Welcome to American Medicine Today. I'm Kimberly Bonati alongside Ethan Youker and world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. Alfred Bonati. We have an exciting show lined up. Let's get right to it. So with all the craziness happening right here on Earth, some recent stories of big happenings in outer space haven't quite received as much media attention as they might deserve. Joining us to discuss is Colonel Eileen Collins, retired NASA astronaut, the first female shuttle commander, and author of Through the Glass Ceiling to the Stars. Welcome to the program, Colonel.
Thanks. Thanks for having me on your show.
Certainly. So now you've been called one of the most recognized and admired women in the world, from breaking barriers as one of the Air Force's first female pilots to commanding the space shuttle. So why don't you tell us really about your incredible journey?
Well, I'd have to say I like to use the word humility because I don't think I would have made it in the military or at NASA if I thought that I was some kind of I did it first, so I'm therefore great. And so I think humility is the key. I spent probably the first 12 years of my career flying airplanes in the Air Force with a bunch of guys. And fortunately, I grew up with brothers and I hit it off really well with the guys. We had a great time. We had a great mission. I loved flying and I loved working as a team. I loved being in the military. But my dream was to go into space. And it had been that way since I was in fourth grade. And I've always admired the astronauts and thought, what a great career. I want to go up there and see what it's like to see the Earth from a distance. But the other thing is I find myself, I kind of have an explorer type personality. I like to go new places and see new things. And I like to, they say invent, discover. I'm a little bit of a geek. Mm-hmm. And my high school friends would all certainly agree with that. And I think that just took me, the attitude I had of, I studied a lot. I was very shy. Want to use the word humble again. And, always not thinking about myself, but thinking about the mission. Why are we here and what's the purpose of what we're doing? So that's kind of my overall attitude and the strategy that I used throughout my life.
Walk us through with every detail a launch, from the preparation leading up to walking, through the tunnel out to the shuttle, to the feeling of liftoff, to the feeling weightlessness in space, looking down at the planet. I mean, just walk us through it because that's fascinating.
Yeah. So honestly, the first thing I'd say is if you had not trained for it, you would be scared to death because it is a full body experience. All of your senses are just overwhelmed. But preparation is the key for the astronauts. So we prepare in simulators. We, work on the launch pad so we're comfortable just being out there. And my attitude as a commander, when I take my crew out to the launch pad, it's confidence. I want them to be confident. I don't want any fear. And so the attitude is you are the most trained in the world for this mission right now. But when you're strapped in and laying on your back and you're watching that clock countdown, your heart is beating very fast. And you'll see T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, T-minus 6, the engines start. There's a lot of rumbling. It sounds like you're in a room that's burning, like there's a fire going on around you. And your seat is shaking. And then you'll see T-minus 3, 2, 1. And at T-minus 0, there's a little bit of a jolt. The booster's light and you lift off. A lot of shaking going on in first stage. And the other thing is the acceleration. We reached 3 Gs. A G is a unit of gravity. And how I explain this to the general public is, let's say you weigh 100 pounds, round number, 100 pounds on Earth. If you could stand on a weight scale, that scale would register 300 pounds during the launch. And that's how much force is being applied to your body. So you go through that up to about 8.5 minutes. And MECO, main engine cutoff, MECO, everything goes, the engine shut down, it gets quiet, everything goes to 0 G. And things are floating, like my helmet floated up, my checklist page is open, my tethers were floating, dust everywhere in the air, floating around. Is very eerie, just as a very strange, unusual sensation that we can't really imitate it here on Earth, the microgravity. And it takes the body quite a while to get used to it. I mean, it's kind of a nonlinear adaptation. Most adaptation happens in the first day and then the second, third, fourth. And by the time you get to about a week, you're pretty well adapted.
It's fascinating. But at the same time, is it a little spooky when you're in space and then you're looking back at the Earth? A little lonely?
Yeah, that's a good,
feeling?
That's a good word, spooky, to describe it. Initially, I remember getting out of my seat. Of course, I immediately bumped into a circuit breaker panel, and then I bumped into a crew member. You got to get out of your big, heavy launch and entry suit. And I didn't really spend much time looking out the window on my first day, but you can't help it. It's so, I want to say, you drawn to the window. On my first flight, honestly, this is totally true. I looked out the window, and the first thought that went through my mind was, the Earth is round. Look at that. The Earth is round. Imagine.
Who would have thought?
Of course, we know the Earth is round, but as a pilot, I was looking at a flat horizon my entire career, and now I'm looking out and I see the curvature of the Earth and the sunrise coming up behind the Earth. It looked like a rainbow, and it was it's just beautiful when you throw in the part about floating in microgravity and the fact that you can put your face up against the window and look down at the Earth, and like you don't even have a spaceship around you, and you feel like an angel flying over the planet. And we go around the Earth once every 90 minutes. If you could translate that to the surface, it would be like 18,500 miles an hour. So the Earth is turning below us very, very fast, and the view that you're looking at is changing. And the last thing I'll say about that is the Earth is a water planet, and it really is driven home for people that are astronauts that are up there looking out the window. Almost all the time, you're going to see blue and white. You're going to see ocean, or you're going to see clouds. And at the time that you do see land, there's always a little contest of, what is that? Can you identify that continent or that river or, that coastline? And we like to play games and try to, guess what we're looking at without cheating and looking at the computer.
I've actually talked to a few astronauts throughout my, career in the past, but never a commander, by the way. So it is certainly an honor, but a lot of them talk about almost like a supernatural feeling or like a metaphysical type of feeling, a philosophical feeling of being up there and looking down on the planet. And a lot of them have said that it actually changed sort of their perspective on life. Did you experience anything like that?
Yes, definitely. I have two things to say about that. The first one is, as the commander, I also flew as a pilot on my first two missions. We are responsible for the safety of the space shuttle, the safety of the crew, the execution of the mission. So I have always tried not to be drawn into the metaphysical, which that can certainly happen. I've always tried to stay concrete, focused on the mission. What are the procedures? Are we doing the mission, what we're supposed to do? But normally for a commander, towards the end of the flight, things are complete. Your crew is fine. Everybody's healthy. That's when I would take the time to really think about what was going on, big picture. I remember one time thinking, we should send old people to space because they could do everything up here. It's, I remember my grandmother having trouble getting out of the car. Well, if she was in space, she could do everything. But as far as, did it change me? Yes, without a doubt. Trivial things don't bother me anymore. And I think I have learned to be more of a low stress person and like not sweating the small stuff and really thinking about what's important and thinking more strategically in the way I conduct myself every day.
Have to ask before we conclude everything here about extraterrestrials, UFOs. Everyone was kind of discussing this stuff.
I really wanted
beforehand.
to get into that because I read about UFOs and ETs all the time, but I'm sure, I don't know what you can say about it, but it's just the four of us here talking about it. What can you tell us?
Yeah, well, I'm glad you asked me that because that turns out, for me, that's the most common question that I get, usually after encouraging kids in school. But I get that question about UFOs and even aliens. And I honestly don't think that the Earth is being visited by little green men. But I do think that there's something going on that we do not understand. Now, if you look at these Navy carrier groups where you have pilots seeing unusual things moving around that, an airplane can't really do, I think that we are seeing some forms of energy that are just shooting around. We need to figure out a way to observe these things and find out what they are. And I know that the U.S. government, along with other governments around the world, is looking at this. And if people want to put private money into it, I think that's a good thing to do, because if it is some kind of weird energy, how can we tap into that and maybe use it to our advantage? But I really don't think there's aliens out there. I just can't bring myself to believe that.
Well, I believe it. I still believe.
Well, that's okay. That's
Call me Mulder.
You also want to use your imagination, so that's important.
Okay.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your time with us, Colonel Eileen Collins. Thank you for being on the program. Retired NASA astronaut, first female shuttle commander, and author of Through the Glass Ceiling and To the Stars. Thank you for being on the show.
Thanks.
Yeah, it was great talking to you. Have a great day.
You as well.
Love to have you back.
Make sure you stay tuned. We'll have more after the break. You're watching American Medicine Today. Don't be screwed by lesser spine institutes who bait you with minimally invasive procedures, then switch to screws, rods, disc replacements, and hardware. At Bonati, no metal hardware fusions are ever used. Bonati invented the precise tools necessary to minimize surgery, scarring, anesthesia, and recovery. So successful are the Bonati Spine Procedures, they consistently reflect 98.75% patient satisfaction. Over half our patients have suffered from failed back and neck surgeries at other facilities. Bonati succeeds where others fail.
My name is Lance Worth. I'm a general contractor, so I'm constantly climbing, lifting, building, driving machines, and I like to go fishing quite a bit. My pain started approximately a year ago with an injury. On a job site, I walked into a boom of a skylift, thought I was low enough. I hit my head directly to it, cracked my neck back real hard. It just started to get worse and worse. I haven't been able to sleep in 7 weeks. I had to sleep on a recliner, almost straight up and down, with my arm up behind my head to relieve the nerve pain that was shooting down my arm and in my shoulder. I had to drive like this. I had to on and off throughout the day. I had to do this. And the more I moved, the more I did things, it would free up a little bit. But as soon as I would go to rest, it was like a 10 out of 10 as far as pain went.
Initially, Lance tried to treat his neck injury with conservative treatments, during which he also saw his family doctor, who prescribed him pain medications and injections to try and relieve his pain.
I went and had the normal CAT scan done, x-rays, daily heavy doses of Motrin and Tylenol, and 3 times a week to the chiropractor, and stretching, gabapentin. The pain medications and all the chiropractor visits made it tolerable to work every day. Nothing seemed to do anything, and I just try to get by until it gets to the point where I can't take it anymore. Chiropractors and pills and stuff don't do it. Injections, it's all temporary. I need a permanent relief.
When conservative treatments failed to eliminate his pain, his local doctors recommended he undergo anterior open neck surgery.
Well, I've had chronic back problems since I was 16 with disc herniations. And when they talk about surgery where I am, they talk about 6 months to a year of downtime. They wanted to come from the front. They wanted to remove bone. They wanted to cut my back muscles. It was such a long recovery time. Why make people suffer through all this stuff that doesn't work?
Not wanting to endure the hospital stay, long recovery, and health risks of anterior open neck surgery, and as a former patient of the Bonati Spine Institute, he knew exactly who to call for help.
2 years ago, it got to the point where I couldn't walk, and I just started researching the internet, laying there, and came upon Bonati. And when I read about him, I reached out to him and got all taken care of, and I've been working like crazy. And now this injury is my neck, so now I'm back down here from my neck. I knew he was the right guy to come to because it took care of me before.
Lance sent his images in for review, and Dr. Bonati called him personally to tell him he was again a good candidate for the targeted Bonati Spine Procedures.
He called back right away within a day. I had a phone call back, and he said, yep, we can take care of it. And he said, I can get you in a certain day, so I just scheduled the flight. On the plane, I was here the night before. I got in yesterday, had the surgery the same day because they already had seen my films. You couldn't beat that.
Surgical guests traveling from outside the Tampa Bay area are pleased to learn that the Bonati Spine Institute provides them with all the services they need to prepare them for surgery in-house. This includes a state-of-the-art on-campus imaging center.
Going to the chiropractor, taking steroids, the whole regimen of the stuff they always put you through before they'll even think about even doing an MRI. It's just backwards. I don't understand the system. When I can make an appointment here, fly down here, get my MRI done, they read it, I'm into surgery the next day. I can schedule all that on the same trip. Instead of 6, 8, 10 weeks of suffering, it's so easy here. I've never seen such an easy process between the appointment to the films to setting up the surgery. Everybody's so professional. You just go right through the line, and I had a really good time. It was a really good experience here.
The exclusive Bonati Spine procedures are performed incrementally using conscious IV sedation. This technique allows the patient to remain awake and communicating with their surgeon. This is to ensure the source of the patient's pain is eliminated before they leave the operating table.
I've had a lot of surgeries in my life. First time I've ever had a semi-conscious sedation. It's a little different. You're kind of aware when they ask you how you feel certain things. And like this time with my neck problems, right away, even yesterday, my elbow pain went from a sharp knife to nothing. Instantly. It's the only way to go. I just don't see why people would do anything else.
Lance, how's that pain in your elbow?
No.
Huh?
No.
No.
No pain?
No.
Okay. Were you having pain in the arm before surgery?
Yeah.
Yes?
Patients are often surprised by how much better they feel minutes after surgery, and they are not required to wear an uncomfortable brace or suffer through weeks of agonizing physical therapy. Instead, they are told to simply walk about 40 minutes a day.
I was able to do things again, no sitting around, and it's already only been not even a day.
Lance highly recommends the Bonati Spine Institute to anyone suffering with neck or back pain.
Ever since my first round of surgeries, I've been a huge pusher of Bonati, just because of what he does and how he does it. After you research the tech, how he invented the tools, and versus what other doctors are doing. I've told so many people up by us, relatives, friends, of don't go conventional surgeries. Don't do it. Send the films here. They'll tell you what he can and can't do. He's right up front about it, and it's the way it should be.
Lance is looking forward to sleeping through the night and getting back to work, all pain-free.
Get back to normal life again. Get back to just going and doing, and you don't realize how much you're missing when you're in so much pain like that.
To see more stories of recovery just like this, search for the Bonati Spine Institute on YouTube, Rumble, Roku, Amazon's Fire TV, Google Play Store, and Apple's App Store. Welcome back to American Medicine Today. So a new book by an award-winning author, engineer, and futurist has some surprising insights on why humankind may actually be devolving rather than improving. This is, due to technology and the elimination of natural selection. Joining us to discuss is J.J. Jerome, author of Evolution Ended. Welcome to the program, Mr. Jerome.
Thank you very much.
It's really kind of a frightening thought about what you said about our species devolving. Can you elaborate?
Well, absolutely. In the old days, we all came up in tribes, and our survival was based on our smarts or strength and our ability to attract a mate. But these days, because of modern technology, we evolve for no particular reason in random ways. There's no pressures on us to evolve through the environment. So now if you need to be, rather than being a hunter, you just need to go to Whole Foods to get your food. Everyone can practically survive to reproductive age because we have great antibiotics, and we can also control how we reproduce with things like the birth control pill or in vitro fertilization. Therefore, we really have no direction to evolution.
It's sort of the dumbing down of society. I know you and I spoke a little bit off air, and it's a movie you've never seen, but I suggest you go see it. Mike Judge had a film called Idiocracy that came out in the mid to late 90s. And basically the premise is somebody is in a coma and he wakes up hundreds of years in the future and everyone's a moron. And as soon as I read the premise of your book, I said, this is Idiocracy to a T. And we're experiencing things like lower IQ rates, lower fertility, all kinds of things. Why is this happening?
Well, it's interesting because the IQ rate started to decline as soon as civilization became prevalent. When people started living in cities, rather than biological evolution taking over, their survival was really more determined by how good their city was, how good their army was, how good their economy was, how well they communicated. These were not biological evolution, they were social and economic evolution. but they didn't need to have the level of IQ that they needed to survive out in the wild, for example. Similarly, their physical condition. And these days we see a ton of diabetes out there. And now with things like artificial intelligence, the decline in IQs may be even more pronounced because so many things are being done for you.
And then also with social media, what do you think is happening there?
It's extremely interesting because in the old days, our tribes and our ethnic groups provided the glue that we needed to keep our societies together, which really did help us survive. They were the ones who made sure you lived up to the society's standards. And a lot of those standards were important for survival. But we don't have tribes anymore. We really don't have ethnic groups. Our new tribes are our social media friends.
Back to AI for a quick minute. Give us your thoughts on sort of an AI-powered world that we seem to be we're heading towards, really. And people are already upset that, it's going to take they're going to lose their jobs to AI and things like that. Give us your broad vision of an AI future.
Well, it's interesting because I think AI is going to help us in certain ways. Right now, our population is starting to decline, at least in the advanced nations. People are saying we can't get enough help. There's not enough people around to do what we need to do. AI may provide the benefits we need to allow a smaller population to be able to be just as productive and keep our economies going. The counterpoint to the population is that when you have a very large population, and our population has grown from 3 billion in the time of John Kennedy to about 8 billion now, this is part of the reason we have environmental issues. We're trying to support too many people with the resources we have. So AI may actually be one of the answers.
We'll be right back after this quick break to continue the discussion with J.J. Jerome about evolution ended. You're watching American Medicine Today.
I think everybody was shocked, like, really, you had surgery today? I had a drain tube. I was at my desk doing payroll for 200 employees, worked till night, got up, went to bed.
Actually, the recovery was great. I mean, I really immediately felt the difference. I was able to go back to work within a couple of days.
The progress after each procedure was amazingly good. The recovery, all told, has been phenomenal.
The recovery was pretty easy. I was able to walk around after surgery with no problem.
And when I got up off that table, it was like, like a reborn again. When I was able to walk off that table and walk out and go for lunch. I went in there at 10 o'clock, got operated on. At 12 o'clock, I was walking out on my own.
We went to the Bonati Institute, and that was the day, the turning point in my life. This type of surgery is so much more advanced, and the recovery time is so much less that it's just a no-brainer. If you've got pain, go to Bonati.
This is the honest to God truth. And was recovering, I didn't feel anything. The pain that I was suffering is gone. I can go back to work in like 3 days.
The surgeries that I had, actually, I recovered very easily from, I would say. I actually went to work the following afternoon.
That afternoon, when it was done, I actually felt so much better already.
6 days after surgery, I was back in the gym, slowly but surely working my way back to fighting, back to basically 100% of fighting. So 6 days, and everybody wasn't all like, didn't you just get out of surgery? I'm like, yeah, I feel great. And like, okay, let's see how you do. And I was bowling with everybody, and I'm in the advanced class. So that sounds a lot right there.
First time I came in here was Monday, and today is Thursday. I've had 2 surgeries and am doing fantastic. I'm still in shock that I can walk. That's all within 4 days.
Bonati succeeds where others fail.
Welcome back to American Medicine Today. We're continuing our discussion with author J.J. Jerome.
How many jobs are actually going to be replaced by AI? I mean, we need physical, actual human beings to do a large portion. I mean, I don't see an AI person even doing something like paving the roads and building bridges and things like that. What do you think? I mean, AI, in my opinion, is a useful tool and can be. There's also a downside to it, but I don't think people really need to be that concerned about getting replaced by AI. Do you?
Well, not in the near term, but in the long term, it's going to make us more and more efficient, and we'll be able to do more with less people. And when you start thinking about robots and you start thinking about being able to 3D print houses and 3D print roads and things like that, eventually we're going to need less people and be far more productive, which economically should help us.
I am also scared to see the competition that's going to be between the ability to do things in a specific time that the human never will be able to fight that speed with a computer. And now that we are trying to make an emotional type of addition to AI, and then we start to talk about love, and we start to talk about friendship, and then we start to talk about situations of emotional involved on AI, suddenly the robots are going to go, I don't like this human. So suddenly you're going to see it's a superior race, and that superior race is going to exterminate us.
I don't know if I'm going to go that far with it. I can understand your perspective. And so much of it is the safeguards that we put in place. And an interesting point is once robots get to be sentient, which may well happen, then the question is, will they be legally protected? Will we have to pay them wages? Will we be able to ever turn them off? Will they be considered living things and been able to inherit property, for example, or to be a wife or a husband or a companion? Once they get awarded these legal rights, it's going to be very, very interesting. I take a more positive view than you do, however.
All these things, because the AI is going to integrate and imitate the human of the actuality. That is the problem that I see. And I don't think you can control that, because when the artificial intelligence starts to get control, we're going to lose control.
I want to also talk about the emotional part, because you mentioned it. A lot of people these days are having relationships with AI because the AI can tell you everything you want to hear. It agrees with you. And a lot of people find this very soothing. There's a number of apps online, and it'll be very interesting to see how people and AI integrate together.
I guess it's in how they're programmed, right? But thank you so much for being on the program, J.J. Jerome, author of Evolution Ended. Thank you for sharing your insight with us.
Thank you.
You're watching American Medicine Today. If you have any comments or questions, contact us at the numbers below. Or you can tweet at Dr. Bonati using the hashtag American Medicine Today or hashtag AMT. We would like to hear from you.